Welcome to Java. My name is Alex Stoikov. I'm going to be teaching you for the semester. This is the class webpage, and the little inbox to the left is where you're going to be getting messages from me. So check it and double check it. And the first thing that I sent yesterday was this little welcome message. So I'm going to look at that first. And the welcome message goes something like this. It doesn't matter in what class section you're in, whether you're in the online class section or the face-to-face section. Attendance is taken through the assignments that you submit. So as long as you're turning in the assignments, you're keeping up with the class, that means you're attending, and I'm happy. If you fall more than a week behind, especially this first week, I might drop you. Okay, so make sure you turn in your things. Don't fall more than a week behind, or you might get in trouble, or you will be in trouble. Okay. Assignments, you can turn in assignments more than once. If you turn it in the first time and it didn't get full credit, you're welcome to resubmit it. So just look at the assignment, read the feedback that I left, and then just correct the assignment, resubmit it, and I'll give you full credit as long as it works. Most of the assignments, or not most, all of the assignments are going to be based, the grading rubric is pretty simple. You need to have comments on top, then as you program code, then you're going to have a bunch of comments on the bottom, show me how the program ran. If you're missing the comments on the top or the bottom, I could take off 30% off, so you could lose up to 60% from an assignment, unless you have these simple comments, right? So make sure you include them, okay? If you need to contact me, you can send me an email to this email here. Make sure you include the CSIS24 in the subject line. Also include your assignment number so that I know what you're talking about. Helps me, help you. Okay? Yeah, that's about it. So, let's go back to the class homepage. And there's also a syllabus, so you can read through that thing. There's a textbook in there, which is the important thing. That's your textbook, and the textbook is going to be required, right? You're going to need this textbook to complete the assignments. If you don't have it, you can't complete them. All right? Yeah, just read through the syllabus. The grading is just the usual. 9 or above, you get an A, all that good stuff. Okay? So that's the syllabus. My contact information, and yeah, class times 6:30 p.m. through 8 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and going to week 1 now. Okay, so the whole class is broken down into 6 weeks. Normally this is an 18-week class, so expect to work more. That should be a surprise for a summer class. Okay, all right. So what do you need for Java? What do you need to get this thing going? All right, you need Java. So what do you need? You go in there and you Google JDK, right? Hit enter, and there it is. There's Java SC downloads. You can click on this. Then there's going to be a download JDK link. You click on this, and then you just pick the correct one, the correct version. Make sure you accept their license agreement, and then download whatever you need. Download the one for Mac, download the one for Windows, whatever you're using, okay? Macs already have Java installed on them, but if you want the latest one, do this, okay? For Windows, there's some extra steps on how to install Windows, and I have set up that stuff as videos right in there, or step-by-step pictorial guides on how to install and set up Java and all that good stuff. On Windows, it's a whole lot more complicated than it is on the Mac. So watch the video, read the pictorial, and if you get stuck on something, let me know, right? So assuming that you have your Java program installed, let's see how it works. So first of all, everything that you're going to do is going to be written in just a basic text editor in the beginning. There's other ways to write Java. We're not going to do it for now, up to chapter 9. So chapters 1 through 8, we're going to be doing it this way, with just the basic text editor. Okay, what text editor do I like? I like to use Sublime. All right, Sublime Text. This is what Sublime is. There's version 2, there's version 3. I'm using 2. Right? Either one's fine. This text editor works on Windows, works on Mac, right? It works the same way. So first of all, let me go and open up this little thing here. I'm going to put all my stuff on the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to be putting my file, I'm going to be saving my file on the desktop, and I'm going to show you a simple example of a Java program. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file, Control S. I'm going to save it on the desktop, and I'm going to call it as first.java. Okay, hit the save. Okay, so now it's a Java file, right? First.java. Okay, so the next thing to do is you got to write some Java code. You're going to write class first. Notice how it changes colors once you have saved it with the correct file name. The editor recognizes that it's a Java file, right? Which is very neat. And in there, I'm going to do public static void main, right? This is just to get it going. There's a lot of typing in Java in the beginning, but the more you do, the better it gets, the easier it gets. The more complicated topics you do with Java, the easier it gets to program in it. Okay, then I'm going to do just a basic simple message, system.out.println, and in there I'm going to do hello world, right, and a semicolon. Okay, that is hopefully my first program. Now, how am I going to turn this thing into an actual program? I'm going to first compile this, and then I'm going to run it. Okay, so I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to open up a terminal. In fact, let me just open up the terminal here. All right, so similar thing to how you would do this on Windows. Right, I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to show my files in there that have first Java. Here's my first Java. I did ls to show everything that's in my in my desktop. Okay, so I have my first Java. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compile this thing by typing javac first Java. Okay, and then before I hit anything, right, this is my file. As soon as I hit the enter here, what we're going to do is we're going to create another file, which is the .class file. Okay, this is the file that we're going to run with Java. So we're going to go Java first to run it. Okay, the first one says javac.java. The second one is Java without the .java. Okay, if you put .java, it's not going to work. And then if I hit enter, oops, forgot to put string args. String, square brackets, args. Okay, so it's actually telling you right here, it's missing the public static void main string args. Okay, so you have to put all that in there, otherwise you can't run the file. So again, I'm going to have to compile the file first, compile with javac that first Java. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run this file, Java first. Again, it doesn't find it. I didn't save it. I got to save my file. Save the file, right? Then run the file again. Compile it. Run it. And there you go. There's your hello world. Okay, so that's good. I encountered a bunch of errors just as I was writing this, so now you know what kind of errors you can encounter. Okay? So every Java file that you need to run needs to include this public static void main parentheses string square brackets args. Okay, it doesn't work otherwise. Any questions? Okay, so that's your basic Java program. So the rules, or to keep it simple, your class name, make sure that it matches your file name, right? If this is capital first, this is capital first.java, just for simplicity's sake. Okay, so just name them like that for now. Okay, so what else do I want to tell you? So this is pretty straightforward for today. You're going to have a couple of assignments that have to do with exercises from the textbook. There's exercise 1.1, 1.2, This first chapter of the textbook is just going to be like an introduction. You don't even have to write a whole lot of programs. In fact, you just have to copy a couple of sample programs. There's exercises in here. Exercise 1.1 is just answer these questions in here. I'm going to format this thing so it looks a little better. But basically, there's your exercise 1.1. Right? Define the following terms. What's a computer program? What's a programming language? I'm pretty sure you can answer these questions without the textbook. Okay? And the other one is exercise 1.2. Describe the difference between high-level and low-level languages. Procedure-oriented and object-oriented language. Okay, I'm going to tell you the difference. High-level language is something like Java, right? You don't have to write a whole lot of instructions to get something going, even though it looks like Java requires you to write a lot. It's still nothing compared to a low-level language like assembly, for example. Okay, in assembly, you would have to write a wall of text, right? And I'm talking about like 15 lines of code just to get this thing going and to show you a little hello world. And then the assembly program is only going to be tied with a specific type of a computer. So if you wrote it on an Intel, it only works on an Intel. If you wrote it on a Mac, it only works on a Mac. That kind of things. Okay? The higher level languages like Java, it's more portable. You can transfer it from one processor to another processor. And in fact, Java is super portable Android programming. Right? All the apps that are in Android are written in Java. Android is like, you know, the monster in the smartphones. It's got like 80-something% of the market share. And yeah, everything in it is in Java. Why? Because you can put that Java virtual machine on any kind of hardware almost and program that thing to do things for you. Okay? So that's a high-level language versus a low-level language. Okay? What is a procedure-oriented language and object-oriented language? Well, a procedure-oriented language will be something like C++, right? So if this was a C++ program, it would look something like this. So I'll put it on the bottom. So the C++ program will be something like this. You would have an int main, right? That's why I messed it up in the beginning. And then in here, you would have, you could have different procedures. So I could have like an int procedure 1, whatever, right? That's my procedure. So in C++, so this is procedure oriented, okay? So the procedure oriented is you have procedures that are just out on their own, okay? If I was to do the same thing in Java, my procedures will be inside of a class, right? So this is object oriented language. Right, the procedure will be inside of a class. So I would have something like int procedure, like this, okay? And then maybe something in there, okay? And it's pretty much the same. You know, the procedure is pretty much the same exact thing, except in an object-oriented language, it's bundled inside of something called a class. The class itself is the object, okay? In Java, everything is an object. And so objects that have procedures, that's the object-oriented language. If you have procedures that are outside of, you know, this bundle thing called object or a class, that's a procedure-oriented language, right? They like to make it very fancy. If you go online and try to find an explanation for this, good luck, okay? But that's all there is to it. One, you put the procedure inside of the class. The other one, there's no class, okay? And there's little questions in there. Assume that you have to create a plan for Java that simulates the selection of a state lottery that randomly selects 4 numbers. For this plan, list the data items and a set of methods that will be useful for such a program. Select your own class name and data items. So for this thing here, let's say I'm going to go in there. I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to call this thing class lottery, all right? And in that lottery thing, I'm gonna go save it as lottery.java. All right, save it. Thanks for noticing. Okay, save again. Okay, so that's my class lottery. So they're telling you what methods would you use and what data items. Okay, so the data items, list the data, so let's see, so Stella randomly selects 4 numbers. Okay, so if I have 4 numbers, my 4 data items will be int, I don't know, num1, I'll call it n1, n2, n3, and 4. Those are my data items. Data items. Okay. And by the way, everything that starts with 2 forward slashes is called a comment, right? Comments, right? Comments are just explanation for your code. Okay? They do not affect what the program is doing. So I can go back to my first Java in here, right? Delete this stuff here that I had. All right? This is my object-oriented thing. I can go in there and I can add a comment saying this is where the program starts, right? I'm going to save this thing and I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to compile it again. I'm going to run it again, and you're going to notice that it shows you the same exact thing. It shows hello world, even though I wrote this and this here. So what does that tell you? These have no effect whatsoever on the code itself. What's the code? The programming instructions. That's code, that's code, all this stuff is code. So all these comments here are just an explanation for what your program is doing. What comments is your program supposed to have? Put your name, put the program number, right? Put the date, and put the description. Right? So those are the things that every program should have on top. These are the comments that I require. If you're missing these, 30% off. Okay? And I don't mean a discount. So the next one is the hello world, right? This is my output for the Java. I'm just going to go into my command line. I'm going to select all this stuff. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of my code like so. /**, *// paste that stuff in there, and this is your sample program run. Sample program run. Or I just call it let's call it program run. Okay? I'll call it program test run. Okay? So it shows me that you tested your program. If you have any kind of issues, maybe let's say you forgot the semicolon here, and I save this, and I compile my program again, you're going to see that the compiler is going to tell you what's wrong with this thing, right? So it tells you, okay, hold on. At line 13, you're missing something here, and it actually tells you you're missing a semicolon. Where's my line 13? This is line 13. You're missing a semicolon. Put the semicolon, save it, then recompile the program. Now there's no error, and run the program. Okay? If your program has errors, when you ask me for help, include the errors at the bottom of your code. So put this stuff in there instead of trying to explain to me like, well, it's giving me this error, something about a semicolon, and I don't know what it means. Give me your code, put the error message at the bottom, and I'll tell you, oh, it's line 13. Look at line 13 and put a semicolon at the end of it. Okay? So it makes my life easier when you do this. And if you don't, I'm just going to ask you to do it anyway, so make sure you do it right the first time. Okay? So when the program is all said and done, everything has been tested, everything runs, submit this at the bottom of your code so that I know it works. And that's it. That's an acceptable program. So 30% of your grade is on top, 30% of your grade is in the bottom, and the rest is if the program is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Or is it matching what the description is supposed to do? So description, what is the program supposed to do? All right? So don't just give me a program number, whatever. So on the program number, you might also want to include page number, since we're going to be using the book a whole lot. Okay? Date, you can put date started. You can put date finished. Right? If you started and finished on the same date, put one date. So this is 0620, and that's it. Okay? So, that's the basic stuff. Alright, so comments on top, comments at the bottom. Now let's go back to this little lottery business here that's asking me a set of methods that will be useful for such programs. Okay, so what are methods in Java? It's something that the book talks about later, but it does introduce it in chapter 1. Methods are a way for me to change the data, right? So I'm going to add a little thing here. I'm going to say, okay, methods. These are ways to change or look at the data. So that's how things work. So you have this thing called an object. This is the object called lottery, also known as a class, within which we have a few data items, right? There's going to be 3 numbers. What is an int? Int is an integer. There's different kinds of data, right? Data types are also known as the types of information that you can store into your program. The types of information are integers for now, float or double. You can have strings. You can have characters. Okay, what is an integer? Integer or int, which is what this thing here is a whole number, right? And you know, what else? What other kind of numbers are there? There's floats, doubles, pretty much the same thing, except one is bigger than the other. One can hold so many digits, and the other one can hold twice as many digits. But both of these are decimal numbers. So examples of a whole number are things like 1, 3, 4, whatever. Okay, these are whole numbers. Examples of decimal numbers are 3.14 or 1.234, right? Something that's got decimals, has some digits after the decimal, after the dot. Okay? So these are the different data types that our program can work with, and we store these into variables. So these are the different variable names of the integer type. So I go in there and I'll just put a little comment. So these here, this, and this are variables. Okay? Variables are just words we make up. Right? These are words we make up to store information. Okay? So, what this assignment here is asking you to do is asking you to do a set of methods that will be useful for such a program. So what are the methods that I would need? Again, like I said here, these are going to be ways to change or look at the data, right? So this is my data, a bunch of variables, which are just words I made up, right? And I'm going to store some information in them. Or I'm going to look at the information that's stored in them. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to go in there, and first I'm going to create a method, which is, so first let's say we want to be able to methods to look at the data. Okay, so let's say I'm going to say void look, right? That's all there is going to be. And in this thing, I'm going to say, all right, system.out.println, and I'm going to say n1 is equal to plus n1, and then I'm going to do another plus, comma, n2 is equal to plus n2. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all the extra spaces. Okay, and I'm going to repeat this thing a bunch of times, so why don't I just copy it? I'm going to copy this. Okay, I'm going to paste it right in there a couple of times. So you have your N2, you have your N3, same deal. Okay, and then the N4. Okay, so we're going to use a system on print line instead of showing the little hello world or whatever we did before. Now we're going to use that to show some, variables, right? We're going to show the variables. This is your variable. This is the label that's going to go next to the variable. Okay? By default, Java will initialize or will make each of these data items equal to 0. If you don't tell it otherwise, they're all going to be zeros, hopefully. We're going to run the program, see if it works. Okay? So I'm going to use a main. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to just copy this main from the other file. I'm going to paste it in my lottery, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object of the lottery type. So I'm going to say lottery, my object is equal to new lottery, parentheses like that. Okay? So now with this object, I'm going to be able to evoke this method right here, the look, right? How do I do that? I'm going to say my object dot look, and just like that. Okay, so now let's save the program. I'm going to save the lottery. I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to type javac lottery.java, compile this thing. It doesn't like it. What it doesn't like is something about a semicolon at the end. Okay, I forgot my semicolon. Fix it, save it, go back, compile the Java lottery. Okay, now it's happy. Then I do Java lottery. Okay, to run the thing, hit enter, and there you go. It shows you that all these different values that I had are now, initially are equal to 0. That's what Java does. Very nice. Unlike C++, which just throws random garbage into these data, Java makes them equal to 0 by default for you. Okay, so that will be the first thing that I want to do. I want to have a method to look at the data. And then I'm also going to have a method that, and it's just a single method, but you can write multiple methods. Okay, so now I'm going to do a method that changes the data. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to say, okay, void change. Okay? And I'm just going to make each of these variables now equal to something. I'm going to say, all right, n1 is equal to 1, n2 is equal to 2, n3 is equal to 3, n4 is equal to 4. Right? Now I'm changing these variables to these different values here. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I have to evoke that method also. So I'm going to say, okay, my object dot change, just like I did with the look, and then I'm going to look at them one more time. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, paste it in there, right? So I'm going to change. So first I looked at these. It showed you this stuff right here, the 0, 0, 0, 0 for all of them. Then I'm changing them to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to look at them again, right? Save it, and run it one more time. So you want to compile first, always. It's all good. Then run it. And there you go. Now we change them to 1, 2, 3, 4. Good? Okay. So that is basically what they're asking you here. What kind of things are you going to need? Well, you're going to need these data items that we just made up. We're going to need a way to look at them. We're going to need to have a way to change them. And this is how pretty much every Java program is. Right? You're going to have some kind of an object. There's going to be a bunch of data items that are bundled into the object. And you're going to have ways to look at those things and change those things. But the only way to do that is if you have created an object first. Right? So you have to make an object, and then you can look at these things that are into the object itself. Okay? So that's that for now. Let's see what else. Assume that you are to create a Java program that calculates the floor space of a rectangular room. Right? That's exercise 1.29. For this plan, list the data items and set of methods that will be useful for such a program. Okay? Select your own class name and data item names. Okay? So now that we saw this thing, let's make one for this thing here. Right? So it's going to be a floor space of a rectangular room. So I'm going to go in there and make a new class. Class, what would you like to call it? How about just room? Room, right? Great. Okay. And what are the data items that are going to belong to that room? Right? We need calculates the floor space. What does the floor have? Width, length, right? So why don't we make two floats this time? Float, and notice how when I haven't changed it as with a Java extension first, all the colors are the same. Once I save this thing, I'm going to call this thing room room.java. Right? Once I save this thing, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to say, okay, we have the room is going to have a width and length. Right? These are my data items. And just like I did before, I need to have a way to change these data items. Right? These will be the methods. Methods to change and look at the data items. Right? But there's one more. Right? It tells you that calculates the floor space. So we're going to add another one. So other than changing them and looking at them, we're going to calculate something. So let's do the change first. So we're going to do void change, right? And by the way, the change could be whatever I want. I'm just going to call it C, right? Just so you don't think that it's got to be changed all the time, right? So in the C, I'm going to say, okay, just for simplicity's sake, this is 1.1. The width and the length is equal to 2.2, right? These are both doubles or floats, right? Floats are decimal numbers, okay? That's my change. And then I'm going to have another one, void L. Let's do it capital L, just because. No good reason, right? Capital L, and in there we're going to do a system.out.println, and I'm going to show you that width is equal to width, and I'm going to tell you that height is equal to height. Okay? And then, just like I did with the other program, I'm going to do the public static void main, public static void main string square brackets args, and then I'm going to create an object of the room type. So I'm going to say room is equal to new room. Okay, that's making an object. And then first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the initial values of these width and length that I have. So I'm going to say room.look, or it was called L, right? L, just like this. I'm going to save this thing. I'm going to go back to my terminal or command line. And in there, I'm going to do javac room.java, hit it. I still messed up. Okay. Incompatible, lossy conversion. Let me do this. Instead of, since it doesn't like this, there's a quick fix. I'm just going to make these double. All right. I'm going to save it again so I don't have to deal with errors. javac again. Now something else. What else did I forget? Variable height. There's no height. We have width and length, and I said height. There's no height. So change this, length, right? So it's totally okay to run into errors like this as long as you know how to fix them. No big deal. Okay? So I corrected it, saving it, going back in there, compile the program one more time. There we go. Now it's good. Okay? Run it. Java room. And there you go. It shows you the width and the length are equal to 0 initially. So that's the one. The next one that I want to do is I want to do a room.c, right? To change them. And I don't know why the colors are different, but we'll find out. Save it. Okay. And I'm going to compile this thing again. Now it's happy. Run it. I should have looked at it again. So a room.l. I don't know why it changes colors, but whatever. Save it. Go back again. Java, compile, run, and we have changed them. Okay, so just like the other one we did with the lottery, right? That's that one. Okay, but they also wanted to calculate. So this is the change. This is the look. Now what we're going to do is another method to calculate. What am I looking for? I don't know. Floor area, right? It's floor space or whatever. Floor area. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to say void area. You can name it whatever you want, right? And in there I'm going to say, okay, system that, or let me make a new variable. I'm going to say double area is equal to width times length. Okay? And then I'm going to tell you system.out println the area is, and then plus area. That's the variable that I just made up. Okay, save this. And actually, before I save it, let me go do, first I'm going to do the area right here. So before I change them. So I'm going to do a room dot area parentheses, and then I'm going to do the same thing after, a room dot area parentheses. So this one here, we'll do the math with the 0 and 0. So the area is going to be 0. The other one here is going to do the math with the variables that I changed, okay, or the data items that I changed. So if I save this and I compile my program, this time I didn't have any errors. Right? There's the area. So the first one, the area is equal to 0, 0, is this one right here, because we're working with the 0, 0 variables. And then the next one, this one right here, right? That's this area right here, and that is because we're working with these two variables, or these two data items. Okay? Make sense? Questions? Okay? So, that's your assignment, exercises 1.1, 1.2. I pretty much answered them for you. Okay? So that's that. The next one is more sample programs. And then in here, I have a whole bunch of comments in the programs. You can see the sample programs, which are actually from the book. So in the beginning of the semester, maybe you haven't gotten the book yet, but you should as soon as possible. But until your book arrives in the mail, work with these, right? So I typed them up for you. What is this thing here? It's a basic class which has a public static void main, which is where the program starts. And when you run the program, you're gonna copy paste the output at the bottom. Right, so all I'm saying here is the same thing I already said before. Every program, where's my Sublime? So every program needs to have these comments on top, right? It needs to have these comments on the bottom. The comments on the bottom shows me how the program runs. So type it up, get it to work, run it. If it works, perfect. If it doesn't work, fix the bugs, just like I did. I encountered a million bugs as I was writing this. No big deal. I know how to fix them. Okay? So that's the first one, the hello world.java. And then the next one is show new lines Java. So this is just to show you how to show new lines. So why don't I go and throw that in there. So let's say, for example, see when I ran this program before, it did this, hello world, right? But what if I wanted to do something like that? So all I have to do this is just do a \n right in there. What the \n is doing is it's telling it insert a new line. So I'm going to save this thing again, go back to my terminal or the command line if you're on Windows. I'm going to do Java C first, Java. Then I'm going to run it first. And now it shows you this like I said. Okay? So that's basically it. That's what you have to do for this particular assignment. Make sure, again, you type up, put the comments on the bottom to show me how the program ran. Put the comments on the top, right? Your name, your date, the description, what's the file name. You can even tell yourself things like this. How do you compile this? So if you notice here, I even tell you how to compile it. So to compile this thing here, you type java c show new lines.java, and to run the program, type show new lines operator. I gotta edit that. There's no operator. Okay? And that's it. And I did the same thing. Yeah, what's up with these operators? I gotta edit my examples. There's no operator at the end. So let's make a correction. If I go in there, so to compile this, you do java c first.java, and to run, you do java first, right? That's the same for all the Java programs. So that's for this one. I'm going to go in there, the lottery, same business. I got to have a bunch of comments on the top. Let me just copy this whole thing from here. right? The name is going to be my name, Alex S. Right? Copy this. Go to the lottery. Paste that stuff on the bottom. Right? Just change this thing so it's going to Java C lottery is how you're going to run it, and or compile it, and then just say lottery to run it. Okay, that's compile and run. Okay, and again, when the program runs, paste the output at the bottom. Show me your test run. Show me that it works if you want to get full credit. Okay, any questions? Okay, and that is pretty much all there is for today. So this is your week 1 Tuesday. The main thing is install Java. There's also an example of a graphical user interface, right? So this sample program, where's the sample program? Right here. So other than this and this, there's also section 1.5 using a JavaX swing package. Okay, what is this? It's a way for you to show some kind of a message to the user. So let me do that one too. So I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna make a new file. I'm gonna call it Java GUI. Oops, class GUI. Right? I'm gonna save this thing as GUI.java. Okay. And in there, if you notice the little example, right? What do they have? They have public, static, void, main, the usual. That's just to get the program going. Args. And then under it, you have J, option, pane, show, message, dialog. And then there's a null in there. And then there's a message. And there's a title. And then there's a J, option, pane, dot, warning, underscore message. Okay, what is this? Let's have a look. So I'm going to save this. Saved. I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to compile it. Java C GUI.java. Keep your fingers crossed. Warning message is not a warning message. What did I mess up? J option pane. Oh, I forgot something. And I forgot this thing right here on top. Import JavaX swing.asterisk. So you have to include this little library if you want to be able to use this J option pane. Otherwise, Java doesn't know what it is. You have to tell it where to look for it. Where is it going to look for it? It's going to look for it in JavaX swing.asterisk. Right? That's the package we need in order for us to use a GUI. So I'm going to save it again. I'm going to run the program one more time. I'm going to compile it. This time it's happy. So am I. Java GUI. And wait for it. There you go. That's a GUI. Okay? So how would you submit this kind of a Java output? Right? So this is not your standard thing that you can just copy from the command line. And, you know, so what you have to do is, question? Yeah. What's up?
Whenever I do that, my computer shows up like this big.
Yeah, so depending on what computer you have, the sizes of these icons and things are going to change.
You can't change it?
You can change your computer's resolution if you want to correct that. Yeah, good question. So, but what you're going to do is, what you have to do for these kind of programs is you have to show me how this thing ran still. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your file in Windows. You can open up the snipping tool. On the Mac, you do the Command Shift 3 to get a picture of this. You take a picture of this thing. There it is. And then you're going to go and submit that also. Okay, where's the desktop? Desktop. So just give me the screenshot that you took and put it in a Word file, whatever, right? If there's multiple screenshots, if there's multiple things that are going to show up in the program, put them all in like a Word file or something, and turn in the Word file together with your Java file. Okay, so whenever we have a GUI program, submit a picture of how the GUI ran. Okay, and you just hit OK to close this, and that's pretty much all there is. Okay, so yeah, and there's a little, explanation in the bottom. Take a picture of this, submit your Java program, submit your screenshot, Okay, in case you missed this stuff. Okay, so any questions? All right, so this is your intro to Java. It might seem complicated, but it will get easier. So get the book, read it, help yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the lecture, these notes that I took, the three or whatever. This first Java, the lottery, the GUI, the room, right, and my screenshot. I'm going to put them all in a zip file, upload them to the class webpage, and I'm also going to upload this video. Good? All right, so if you have any questions, let me know, send me an email, message me here. Make sure you include CSS24 in the subject of your emails. And that's basically all there is.